Hi, guys. Welcome to the Art of Healing podcast. I'm your host, Pearls.
And I'm Paris.
And today we're going to be talking about why the healing journey feels so lonely sometimes.
That's right. But before we get into that, you're probably used to this by now, which is great. We're just going to take some deep breaths together, in through the nose and out through the mouth. If you can, close your eyes. If you can't, still do the breathe in. So nice and slow through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Just tuning into your body, how it feels right now. Inhale through the nose. And exhale with a sigh. And this last one, really fill up the lungs. Breathe right into the belly. Inhale. And exhale with a sigh. Fantastic. A little bit of nervous system regulation to get us started. So yeah, today we're talking about why it can feel so lonely on the healing journey. And I guess the first thing that I'd say is that actually it's normal, which is something that I really wish I'd met someone that told me that when I started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of my problem was with healing aside, was dealing with the loneliness of it, because that just exasperates all the other feelings that you've got going on, especially with the, I've not felt this way before, this feels uncomfortable. Then it's like, oh God, there's a whole lot of other problems going with it. So I wish someone would just put their hand on me and said, yeah, like this is normal. This is actually how it goes, that you are going to be okay.
Yeah, because I guess most people's healing journeys start in chaos. They start where they're healing from toxic relationships, toxic environments, toxic situations. And a lot of the time, you're ending these relationships, you're coming out of these situations, you're leaving these environments. So what happens when this happens? It's difficult because you don't know anyone anymore, or you know a lot less people, or you've had to cut people off and leave certain places. And as you're growing on your healing journey and you're changing, certain environments don't appeal to you anymore. You know, maybe if you've stopped drinking, going to the pub doesn't seem as appealing anymore. So, if you make most of your friends in those environments, or you had most of your friends in those environments, what do you do then?
And this is the thing, right? And if we just to go on the whole drinking thing, a lot of people, I think the culture that we live in, they have friends through partying or going out. But it's like, if you stop doing that, see how many of your friends would stay. And that's actually indicated that they're probably not really, sadly, your friends. They're friends by circumstance.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which isn't true connection. That isn't true what you need, especially if you need to heal. That isn't going to be doing it for you. We trade in this type of friendship, companionship, thinking it's what we need, but really we're just, not fulfilling our own needs in the process. But you only learn that once you step out, like you said, of the environment and realize that, hey, for me, I quit drinking like nearly 4 years ago now. And what happened? Shock. A lot of the people that were my friends at the time aren't my friends anymore, because the time that we spent together was drinking. But you stop doing the action and the reaction is they leave. But you think, oh my God, I'm so lonely. Because there's this whole element of, okay, I'm going to take myself out of the environment, the people, the toxic situations and relationships. But there's also an element of like, who the fuck am I?
Yeah.
What am I? What do I believe in? What do I stand for? Like, what do I want to do with my life?
Yeah.
These are all questions that come up, right?
Because all of a sudden, certain patterns don't appeal to you. You've got boundaries now. You don't want to go out as much. You don't talk to the same people that you used to talk to. Maybe your job doesn't align with you anymore as well. That was something that happened for me. I realized like, oh my gosh, I actually do not want to spend my time here doing this. And then it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Or what do I actually feel passionate about? Instead of doing the thing that I think is right or doing the job that I think is good and is going to give me stability, it's like, hey, hang on a second, I can step back and I can actually check in with myself and see what do I want to do. And I think a lot of the time, people end up in these positions because they're on their healing journey, they're growing, they're shedding their old lives, they're shedding the past versions of them. And what's happening is they're creating someone new, which means you're going to have an identity crisis. You're
Big
gonna,
one. Big one.
You're gonna feel lost, and that's part of the journey. It's because you're shedding what you were before. A lot of the time we are products of our environment, products of our situation. We're a reflection of our patterns, are a reflection of the environments that we were in and the people that we were around. And once you learn and realize that, and you're like, hey, you make a conscious decision to not be that way anymore and to not be in those environments around those people, then it's like, hey, I get to build someone new. I get to decide what my boundaries are. I get to decide who I want to be, what I want to do with my life, where I want to live. Because that was another thing. I hated where I lived, hated my job.
Hated everything.
Hated everything. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do any of this anymore. I don't want to live here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to work here. And then all of a sudden what happens as well is even the friends that you do have left, all of a sudden you're not relatable to them because they don't understand anything that you're going through. You're having like a life crisis wherever you are. And this can happen at any age. It can happen in your 20s. It can happen in your 30s. It can happen in your 60s. It doesn't really matter, but it's a crisis of life you're having essentially. It's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't relate to these people anymore. So yeah, and it's a process because what happens is because of that, you start to feel even lonelier because you're like, hey, the friends I do have don't actually get me anymore. They don't understand me, or they're not going through this.
Yeah. So I can't connect with them. They don't resonate with me. We're not, it's like, what's that word? Alignment. I'm not aligned with them anymore.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I've got people that technically I still fuck with. Like I don't not like them because of where I am now. Like I still think they're cool people, but like I just don't connect with them anymore.
Yeah.
Like I really, there's this part of me that really holds on to like the friendship that we had and like the times we spent. You know, I've got people I grew up with at school and things like that. They've done nothing wrong to me, but like we just don't gel anymore. And we haven't fallen out. But that's been a process of me accepting that because there was this thing that wanted to hang on and try and make it work and still put me in those environments that weren't aligning with me to be like, oh no, like maybe we can still be friends. Like, you know, being friends with someone doesn't mean that you actually have to be spending time with them. Like you don't have to, just because you don't
do everything that they do. Yeah.
Just because you don't align them with them, it doesn't mean like, okay, well, we're not friends anymore. Like if they call me up, I'm still going to give them advice. So hopefully we'll still go to their weddings and things like that. But like on a day-to-day basis, we're not in the same environments anymore. We're not doing the same thing. And I think really importantly, we said about like the life crisis. I think we think about like the midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Stumbling here. The midlife crisis typically happens like 40 to 50.
Yeah.
But it actually can happen at any age. And what is the life crisis, how you rightly put it? It's you waking up one day and realizing, hey, my life that I've been living and the person that I am being isn't me.
It's not mine, it's not me, yeah.
I'm doing this because I've been told to, conditioned to, I believe to, I've been programmed to, and I maybe want to fit in. And it's like, it hits people in the face, usually later on in their life where they're married to someone they actually hate. They've been working in a career their whole entire life that they've despised since the day they walked into there. They've got this whole life that they've built that just, they realize isn't them. And they've just been doing it because. And it's like, oh shit. So they, you know, a lot of crazy things come out at the end of that. They start doing drugs, start partying, start trying to make up for lost time by sleeping around and all these things. It's like, that isn't the answer to the feeling of loss that you have. The feeling of loss that you have is you ripping out the old you, which is the fake version. And what you should be doing is, experimenting and trying new things, but like in a healthy way to find out actually what does resonate, what do you want to be? How do you want to live? Because, you know, really what we do is we finish school and we get thrown into, right, go figure out your life.
Yeah.
And that's like a mini life crisis where we just panic and we get this job and then one thing leads to another. And that's how you end up in the place that you end up with, where one day you wake up anyway. But really, you know, when we're living, we should be asking ourselves what it is that we want. What do we need? How do I want to live? How do I want to be? But we don't. We just get stuck in the cycle, right? So then, boom, we get hit with this, the chaos, as you put it, because, you know, in an ideal world, we realize we need healing and we decide to. But that isn't how it happens most of the time. 9 times out of 10, it's because something really bad happened in your life where you literally get to the point where I'm like, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. I have to change. Because I'm, you know, I will end up dying. I will end up losing my sanity. I will end up losing my wealth, my health, whatever it is. It could be all of it. It could be all of it. But that's where we get to, right? And it's like that chaos. We often like see this event as like, oh, I wish that never happened to me. But the reframing it is that, this thing is actually just pushing you to where you should be going. And it's actually a blessing. You know, whatever you believe in, something has put that on your path to steer you in the right direction, because the way you have been living has been wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. We had this came up in our community group the other day where someone was talking about a lot of their friendships and their friendships are falling apart. You know, the work's not seeming like it's something they enjoy anymore. They don't like where they live. And I was like, wait, this actually happened to me. And I think this happens to everyone at some point in their healing journey to some extent, where it's like you wake up, you realize my old friends don't resonate with me anymore. I don't like where I live. I don't like who I'm with, or I don't even like what I'm doing. And the thing to remember is what I realized was that actually these friends that I have were only attached to a version of me that wasn't healed or wasn't healing. So they're not going to be part of my life if I'm growing, because they're attached to that version of me, and I'm this version of me now, and I'll be another version of me in a year's time as I continue this journey.
Yeah.
So what happens is you shed these people slowly. And, you know, even more recently, this has happened where I had a friend who I have no problems with whatsoever, but as I'm growing more, there's more distance between us now. And the version I am today isn't a version that resonates with her as much anymore, and vice versa. So naturally, there's space between us now. We're growing apart. And that's okay. That happens. And I think the thing to remember when this does happen, because obviously it is lonely, it does feel shit. You are going to grieve some of these friendships that are perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with them. It is okay to feel sad. It is okay to grieve it. There is a process. But the thing to remember is, you know, as people leave, it creates space for more people to come. It creates space for new opportunities. It creates space to meet more people, to go to new places, to get new jobs or have new opportunities and work. And I think that, again, that's a part of the healing journey. The more you heal, the more you'll be open to things that are actually aligned for you and aligned with you. Yeah. You know, us meeting, for example, I started my healing journey just before COVID, and everything in my life ended. My relationships ended, work ended. I wasn't happy with a lot of stuff, and I really went down this path of like trying to find myself and figure out, hey, what are my patterns and why am I this way? What's happened in my life to lead me to where I am today? Why has this happened? This should not have happened, but it's happened, and I've got to deal with it now. And I spent a lot of it on my own. And then I met you. But the only reason I ended up meeting you is because I had this attitude of, oh, well, actually, I don't resonate with anyone that I know at the minute. The friends that I do have don't resonate with them that much, but they're still cool. But I would like to be in more situations. I would like new opportunities. I'd like to meet new people and try new things. And I watched this movie called, I think it was called Yes Man.
Yeah. Brilliant movie. Jim
Amazing
Carrey.
movie. Yeah, amazing movie. And after I watched that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do what he does and say yes to every opportunity that comes down my way. And I did. And that led me to meeting Paris. And that would have never happened if I hadn't just embraced the fact that it's okay that I don't have any friends anymore. It's okay that the friends, you know, that I do have, I don't resonate with anymore, and we're probably not going to be friends much longer, which is exactly what happened. But because of my attitude and the way that I embraced it, I got a new job.
Yeah.
I ended up doing something that I absolutely love. And ta-da! And I met you, and we had lots of amazing experiences together. We tried lots of different things. We ended up in lots of different situations.
Some good, some bad.
Some good, some bad. But it's, you know, it's part of the journey. There's lots of beauty to come, despite all the grieving that you're going to be doing from the loss of relationships, the loss of friendships. And even family members sometimes, you know, there's times where you've got to cut those people off, and it's sad, but it's okay. And sometimes it's not sad. Don't feel bad about it if that's what you got to do.
but even so, sometimes, yes, it isn't sad, and these people definitely should be cut out. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to grieve over it and still feel a certain way. Do you know what I mean? And that's very important, I think, that we say that, because, you know, a lot of the times we just kind of rush through our feelings and try not to feel it. And of course, there's this element of like, the reason it's so hard is because there's resistance to feeling it in the first place, but also in the process, allow yourself and give yourself the space to feel it.
Yeah.
Because you need to grieve the relationships. You need to grieve your old life. The new life that you want to live is going to cost you your old life. So you have to be prepared for what comes with that. Yes, okay, your new life is going to be amazing because you get to build this life, but the cost is it is going to hurt. There is going to be growing pains. There is going to be like this, but what about my old way of doing things, my old way of living, my people, my habits? That's been you. That's been the programs that you're running. This is what your nervous system finds safe. It's comfort. The nervous system, your ego hates change. So when you start shifting to the new reality, the growing pains, you know, healing growing pains, that's all it is.
Yeah. And you're also going to grieve other things. You know, you're going to grieve not only the person that you thought you were, but also the opportunities that you've lost.
Yeah.
And the things that you didn't do because of the trauma that you went through, or the things that you were going through at the time.
If only I was this version now, or the healed version of me then, I would have made a better decision.
Yeah.
That's a big one, I think.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that I have feelings like that from time to time. It's like, oh, why did that happen? Or why didn't I do that better? I should have, you're hard on yourself sometimes, and you think oh, I should have done better. I should have made a better choice. If I'd made a better choice, then I'd be here. But actually,
why did
it's
I make
just
that decision?
Yeah.
I wasted so much time.
I wasted so much money.
Yeah, I wasted so much love. I wasted so much of my peace. There's loads of things.
Yeah.
But again, it's like giving yourself the grace. And at the end of the day, the point is, that lesson now. You've learned the lesson now. And how do you learn lessons? You have to experience it first. So be grateful that, wherever you are in your life, you've learned that lesson, as opposed to further down the line, wasting even more time and things. And in fact, you haven't wasted any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You got the lesson right when you needed it to. So now that you have the tools and you're prepared to do with that as you need,
It's XP points.
Yeah. I could look back at my life and think, hey, like, I really wish I'd found you straight off the bat and got into this really lovely relationship with you. But the reality is that the reason that I didn't is because I wasn't aligned with having a relationship like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what a healthy relationship looked like. I didn't necessarily even want a healthy relationship because of that. And I was just addicted to my own traumas and my own things, just repeating that cycle.
Same cycle,
So if I had found you, it wouldn't have worked out, because I would have just perpetuated that in our relationship and it would have showed up. But fortunately, I got to the point where that wasn't an issue for me. And that hence that we were able to have the relationship, because we both decided I don't want to be in a relationship like that anymore. That wasn't nice. But before getting to that, there was an element of healing and then actually boundary setting that had to come in it. And, I think the yes man thing's brilliant, because yes, say yes to more opportunities, but you also have like this negative connotation with no. But the reality is, when you say no to something, you are on the other side of that saying yes to something. So if I'm saying no to an unhealthy, toxic relationship,
saying yes to a healthy one.
Exactly. If I'm saying no to drinking and going out on the weekends and partying, I'm saying yes to going outside in nature and building my dreams. Like, and so we got to learn to start saying no to things and realizing that saying no is saying yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
I love that.
Yeah. Bars for days.
And I think a lot of the times as well, something to remember, because we made this mistake quite a lot, is that just because it's going to be a process to find your people. It's going to be a process to find your people. When you're coming out of toxic environments, toxic relationships, whether they're friendships, romantic, family relationships, whatever they are, when you're coming out of that, it's a process to find the right people, because you're still learning to heal from those patterns. You're still learning to heal from those situations. So sometimes you still are going to attract them or end up in the same situations or similar situations, because whilst you think you're doing better, the pattern is still there.
Yeah.
You haven't completely overcome that pattern, because we ended up with some very toxic friends. We ended up in some very toxic situations who were like, why does this keep happening to us?
How have you shown up in our lives?
We are so good with boundaries. We're so good at spotting this type of behavior now. How have you snuck in, you little bastard?
How did you do this thing?
And it happened to us multiple times, And I think this is it. It's a part. It's a process. It is going to take a while for you, because I think the mistake we made was that, hey, these people are really cool because they think like us and they're on the same wavelength as us, but actually they weren't at all. They thought one thing similar to us, or had like a few
we clicked
ideas
with like a few things, but then this whole morality, values side of things was out the window.
And I was like, oh, okay. We've ended up here again.
But then what we were doing was giving them the benefit of the doubt, trying to see the good in them. Which is a pattern of, I think, both of ours in the past, where it's like, all right, you're an arsehole, but like, I'm going to see the good in you and hope that you change.
And see if I can help you.
Or help you to change.
Because that was something we spent a lot of time doing.
Let me help you to change and become a better person. Just a side note for the community, if you're listening to this, if you're stuck in a place where you think that you need to save someone or change them or help them, and you're hoping that they will change because of that, leave.
Yeah, stop seeing seeing the potential in people.
Yeah.
What were we watching the other day? And I was like, oh, she's seeing the potential, not the actual person. Oh, we were watching this documentary called Love Rats.
Yes.
And basically this woman had put her hopes and dreams on this man who kept selling her this great life that they're going to have together and this great relationship.
We're going to live here and I'm going to do this and I'll pay for everything, the whole jazz.
But he had nothing going for him, really.
He was homeless.
He was homeless. She gave him a home. He had no money. She gave him money. All of it was lies. He wasn't even a present partner because he was seeing a billion other people. And I was saying to Paris, I was like, she's waiting for his potential. She's like sold on the
Yeah.
potential that this man has, but in the current environment and the current situation, he's giving her absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something to remember when you see the good in people. You also, because what we saw was like, oh, they have so much potential to be so great. You're so talented.
Yeah,
you're so
yeah.
amazing. There's so many great things about you. But actually, what were they giving in that friendship in that moment in time was actually not really that much.
Yeah.
But we were so like, you know, hoping on their potential, hoping that they could be a better person and wanting to help them, that we missed all of that. And it was a detriment
and then
to
you
us.
accept them into your life, and then just repeat the same cycle all over again.
Yeah.
And then we're left with egg on our face, reeling, thinking, how has this happened again? And then you also have to rebuild, because a lot of emotions come with that.
Yeah.
It's a whole trust thing.
Like we
as
were so
well.
traumatized after that whole situation. Maybe that whole situation is a conversation for a different time.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
We were very traumatized after that for like about a good 6 to 8 months. Like we were so unwanting to make friends with new people and so apprehensive to interact with new people.
Yeah, which is understandable, really.
Like we really just kept ourselves to ourselves for a
Yeah.
very long time, because it wasn't just one person, it was a group of people. We're in a friendship group, and majority of them turned out to be people that we didn't really align with us.
Yeah, which it is what it is. But looking back, I think, there's been a few instances where that's happened over the time of us knowing each other with different sets of people. But that we're now at this point where the last one was really the last final lesson that we needed. And up until that point, which was over a year ago now, give or take, there are no people like that in our lives, because the same way we hold each other to a high standard, and the fact that we're in a relationship where we hold it at a high standard, we realize, oh, well, it doesn't just apply to a love relationship. It's also your friend relationships. Like, you need to have a high standard. And when these people do slip in, because they will, we're not perfect, we still make mistakes, our nervous systems, our subconscious mind still wants to run the same programs we've been running probably our entire lives. You will try and go back to those other ways of being, but when it happens, it's about catching yourself, realizing, and then reprogramming it, and then going again. Really, these people will always show up in your life. It's about catching them before you let them in. And of course, it's just when they do show up, they're also just showing the kinks in your armor that you just need to repair and put a hole in.
Yeah, because I think the last person that this happened with, or people that this happened with, we knew at the start, we had a feeling that something wasn't quite right because of certain behaviors, and certain things just didn't sit right. But because it wasn't a big thing, we let it slide. And we thought, no, it'll be fine,
etc. We can deal with it.
It's not that big of a deal. But it turned out to be a big of a deal, and we were just, I guess, ignoring how big of a deal it was, or not understanding how big of a deal it was in that situation.
Ignoring the red flags, really.
Yeah, it was a red flag. It was like, hey, this is all cool behavior.
Yeah.
And then obviously we learned that lesson, and we sat and we analyzed it to death. We were like, hey, what's happened here? How's this happened? And it was just literally like, oh, everything else was cool. But that initial moment when we had that initial gut reaction, like, hey, that's not cool, we ignored it. So now, obviously, whenever we think or feel that way, we always check with each other and say, hey, what did you think? What did you feel? To be fair, we've been doing that for quite a while.
Yeah, we have.
We have this like thing where, because sometimes in the past, there's been a thing where like one of us will think or feel something, and we won't really share it. This was like right at the beginning. We wouldn't really say anything too early. And then when something would happen, we're like, oh, I had a feeling about this. It's like, hey,
and I'd be like, why didn't you tell me
I had a feeling about this too. And it's like, why didn't you tell me?
But now when we meet someone, you're right, we do that.
We always check in and be like, what do you think? What do you feel?
How did you feel about them? And it's
what
important.
Was the interaction?
Because this is the thing as well. Like on the surface level, you'll meet someone, and this isn't to be judgmental. It's just to tune in with like the vibe. Yeah, you'll meet someone and you'll think, cool, they seem decent, they come across really friendly and nice. But if you actually tune into your body is usually telling you a whole different story. If there's something up, if there's not something up, then what you think will align with what you feel. But if you're thinking, yeah, they seem nice, but you feel a bit of something, it doesn't even have to be labeled anxious or anything like that, but you just feel a tension, let's call it, or a sensation that doesn't feel comfortable. That's your body saying something's up, and it isn't even in your job to go and find out what that something up is. If your body's saying, yo, this person's not cool, just listen to it, because there's more risk you not listen to it and something happen rather than your body being wrong, which I've not found ever that it is.
Yeah, exactly. And also as well, the more regulated you become, the easier it's going to be to tune into that feeling in your body. Like we had a situation, because obviously for us it's interesting as well, because there's people that we sometimes want to work with who we think, oh, that's a bad idea, or something's off there. Our business is exposed to a little bit as well. And this happened probably maybe 7 months ago, where we had a phone call with someone because we were planning on doing an event, and we told him, well, Paris was on the phone. Paris had the conversation with him, told him what the event was, discussed the details with him. We're trying to go backwards and forwards with him to try to
iron out the details.
So we could book the venue and book the event. And he was just being very funny about the entire situation. He was just like, something was just off. And I was sat there. I wasn't really speaking. I was just on listening to the conversation because it was on loudspeaker. And something in me was just like, something doesn't feel right. I can't really put my finger on it, but something doesn't feel right here, and I don't really want to work with him. I got this feeling of I don't want to work with him. Because we said we'd get back to him with the dates, because obviously he was being a little bit difficult on the call about and not really ironing out the details properly. So we said we'll have a conversation between us and we'll get back to you. And after we came off that call, I was like, something doesn't feel right, and I think we left it at there, didn't we? And we didn't. And we didn't talk about it. And then I think maybe a few days later, a week later, I think something happened, and we were like, you know what? Actually, let's not work with him. And we didn't. But we found out that the reason he was being difficult was because he wanted to do the event that we'd created. So he ended up taking the event that we'd created and putting it on himself.
Interesting.
Which was just really weird behavior personally. But obviously we'd realized before then, this is not someone to work with. And then also what we were feeling at the time was what he was feeling was oh, I don't want to work with you because this is a good idea and I want to do it.
I want to do this kind of thing.
Because obviously it was his venue and it was a great idea. But we learned that it's pretty much straight away. It was within literally a few days, we were let's not go down that. Because I think if we had, there would have been a lot of problems, which obviously we know now that we probably wouldn't have ever ended up putting it up anyway. But
it's true.
Yeah, that was a more recent lesson that we've learned. It's that was gut feeling, listen to it,
and boom, take action. It's a simple formula. It's so easy to ignore, but when you start listening to it, it's so easy to apply. And I think when it ties in with this whole loneliness thing, because I truly do understand this need or this yearning to find your community, find your tribe. They're always telling you, find your tribe, find your people. But you can't rush into that.
No.
And you're probably not going to find the right people straight off the bat. If you do, great, it can happen. It's not saying it won't, but you do have to exercise, like you were saying earlier, that there is still parts of you that are unhealed. There are still parts of you that will seek out toxic relationships. There are still parts of you that are going to be attracted to that subconsciously. But as you're healing anyway, you're going to be attracting these people. That's just the way it works, because they want to suck off your energy. They want to come and take what you have. So regardless of where you are still always going to be exposed to these people. It's just our job, now that we're coming from a more regulated place, to sift out the good from the bad and have the boundaries in place. Is this the type of person that I want around my kids, is something we always say, right? and that's worked pretty well for us.
That's the barometer.
Yeah, not that we have kids, but when we do, it's if you wouldn't let this person around your kid, then why are you letting them into around you? Because really, you are the kid, regardless. You know what I mean? It's you got to have these strong boundaries, man. And, don't feel pressured to be around people, especially when they're not aligning with you. That's just damaging yourself.
Yeah, don't drink poison because you're thirsty.
Yes. Tell them again.
Don't drink poison because you're thirsty. But yeah, you're probably thinking, okay, so we've discussed why the healing journey is so lonely. So it's a process to find people. What can I do? Well, let me tell you what we can do, because this is obviously something that we have experienced firsthand. We were very lucky that we met each other and we got to do a large part of our healing together.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, we got to do a large part of our healing together. And because of it, we realized actually healing with other people is a lot easier. People who are looking and willing and wanting the same thing that you want. And what do we always say?
Healing happens in community, not in solitude.
So yeah, what we've done is we've created a group chat for anyone who is wanting to meet people who are also on their healing journey, who are wanting to connect with other people, who feel a little bit lonely because they've had to cut everyone off, or maybe you just want to make some new friends and connect with some like-minded people. So yeah, we have a community group that we have. It's very lovely. There's lots of lovely people in there. Everyone's very friendly. And essentially it's a group where if you want some support, if you want some advice on something, you want to talk about something, that's the place to do it. Or if sometimes you just want to have a chit chat about your favorite Netflix show or some random recipe that you found that you absolutely adore. We love it all.
If you have pictures of pets, they're very welcome.
They're very, very welcome. So yeah, come and join our community group and meet some more people. And obviously in the future, we're going to turn that into something a bit more. But at the minute, it's just a community group where you can come and connect with other people. The link for it will be in the show notes.
Yes.
And if you're not able to click on it, or if you have any issues, the other place that you can find it is if you click on the link on our Instagram or TikTok, there'll be a join this community button as well.
Yes, that will send you right to it. It's WhatsApp. Join us. Come in there for all your healing fun needs. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for listening today, and we will see you next week for another episode.
Yeah.
Ciao for now.